Genesis chapters 26 through 35 continue the story of the patriarchs, transitioning from Isaac to Jacob. These chapters portray the faithfulness of God across generations, the human flaws and struggles of the patriarchs, and the way God shapes and blesses his chosen people despite their weaknesses. Genesis 26 focuses on Isaac. It is the only chapter in Genesis that centers primarily on him. A famine strikes the land, and God instructs Isaac not to go down to Egypt as Abraham once did, but to remain in Gerar. There God reaffirms the covenant made with Abraham, promising land, descendants, and blessings. God declares, "I will be with you and will bless you." Isaac repeats his father's mistake by claiming Rebekah is his sister out of fear. King Abimelech eventually discovers the truth and warns his people not to harm them. Despite the deception, Isaac prospers greatly, and the Philistines become jealous. They stop up his wells, and Abimelech asks Isaac to move away. Isaac reopens the wells and eventually settles in Beersheba, where God appears again, restating the covenant. Isaac builds an altar, and Abimelech later returns to make a peace treaty, recognizing that Isaac is blessed by God. Genesis 27 narrates the dramatic deception by Jacob to secure the blessing intended for Esau. Isaac, now old and blind, asks Esau to hunt game and prepare a meal so he can bless him before death. Rebekah, overhearing this, conspires with Jacob to disguise him as Esau. Jacob wears Esau's clothes and goat skins to mimic Esau's hairy body. Isaac, though suspicious, is deceived and gives Jacob the blessing of the firstborn, prosperity, dominion, and divine favor. Esau returns and is devastated when he learns what happened. Though Isaac blesses him too, it is not the same. Esau vows to kill Jacob. Rebekah urges Jacob to flee to her brother Laban in Haran. This chapter shows the consequences of favoritism and deception within families, but also, God's sovereign will at work. Genesis chapter 28 follows Jacob's departure. Isaac blesses Jacob again, this time knowingly, and sends him to find a wife from his mother's family. On the journey, Jacob stops to sleep at a place later named Bethel. There he dreams of a ladder reaching to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. God appears and renews the Abrahamic covenant, the land, numerous descendants and blessings to all nations through his offspring. Jacob wakes in awe, declaring, "Surely the Lord is in this place, and I did not know it." He sets up a pillar and vows that if God keeps him safe and provides for him, he will worship him and give 1/10 of all he receives. This is, a defining spiritual moment for Jacob, who until now has acted through manipulation. Genesis chapter 29 introduces Laban and the beginnings of Jacob's family. Jacob meets Rachel at a well and is instantly smitten. He agrees to work 7 years to marry her. The years pass quickly for Jacob, but on the wedding night, Laban deceives him, giving him Leah instead. When Jacob confronts Laban, he is told that the older daughter must be married first. Laban offers Rachel as well, in exchange for another 7 years of labor. Jacob agrees. God sees that Leah is unloved and blesses her with children Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. Rachel, meanwhile, remains barren and, honestly, quite jealous. Genesis chapter 30 continues the rivalry between Rachel and Leah. Now Rachel gives her servant Bilhah to Jacob, and Bilhah bears Dan and Naphtali. Leah, who is temporarily barren, gives her servant Zilpah, and Zilpah bears Gad and Asher. Later on, Leah herself bears Issachar, Zebulun, and a daughter named Dinah. Finally, God remembers Rachel, and she bears Joseph, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." At this point, Jacob desires to return home, but Laban convinces him to stay and offers him wages. Jacob agrees to take the speckled and spotted animals. Using a clever breeding strategy and, God's blessing, Jacob's flocks increase greatly, and he becomes wealthy. Laban's sons, though, grow resentful, and Jacob senses that Laban's attitude is changing. Genesis chapter 31 describes Jacob's secret departure from Laban. God tells Jacob to return to his homeland, promising to be with him. Jacob explains the situation to Rachel and Leah, and they support him. So they all leave while Laban is away. Laban pursues them, but God warns him in a dream not to harm Jacob. When they meet, Laban accuses Jacob of stealing his household gods. Rachel, who has hidden them in her camel's saddle, pretends she cannot rise because of her period. Laban doesn't find them. Jacob, angry now, rebukes Laban for his years of mistreatment. They make a covenant of peace at Mizpah, setting up a stone pillar and heap as a witness. Genesis chapter 32 is a pivotal chapter. Jacob prepares to meet Esau, fearing his brother's revenge. He sends messengers ahead with gifts. That night he wrestles with a mysterious man, God himself. They wrestle until daybreak, and Jacob refuses to let go until he is blessed. The man touches Jacob's hip, dislocating it, and blesses him, renaming him Israel, meaning he struggles with God. Jacob names the place Peniel, saying, "I have seen God face to face, and yet my life is preserved." This event marks a spiritual transformation. Jacob is no longer just a deceiver, he is now a man who has encountered God. Genesis chapter 33 recounts the emotional reunion with Esau. Jacob approaches with humility, bowing 7 times. Esau runs to meet him and embraces him, and they both weep. Jacob insists Esau take his gifts as a token of goodwill. Though Esau offers to travel with Jacob, Jacob declines, citing the children and animals. Esau returns to Seir, and Jacob settles in Shechem, buying land and setting up an altar to God. Genesis chapter 34 tells a tragic story. Dinah, Leah's daughter, is raped by Shechem, the prince of the land. He desires to marry her and asks his father Hamor to arrange it. Jacob's sons are outraged. Hamor and Shechem offer intermarriage and economic partnership, and the sons deceitfully agree on the condition of circumcision. While the men of the city recover from the procedure, Simeon and Levi kill them all and rescue Dinah. Jacob is troubled by their violence, fearing retaliation. This story highlights the moral complexities of vengeance and justice and sets the stage for internal family struggles. Genesis chapter 35 brings spiritual renewal. God commands Jacob to go to Bethel and build an altar. Jacob tells his household to put away foreign gods. As they travel, God protects them from surrounding cities. At Bethel, God reaffirms Jacob's new name, Israel, and reiterates the covenant promise. Tragedy follows. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, dies. Rachel gives birth to Benjamin but dies in childbirth. Jacob buries her near Bethlehem. Later, Jacob's eldest son Reuben sleeps with Bilhah, his father's concubine, a sinful act that will later affect Reuben's inheritance. The chapter ends with the death of Isaac at 180 years old. Esau and Jacob bury him together, just as Isaac and Ishmael once buried Abraham. This act of unity between brothers is a fitting close to this section of Genesis. Genesis chapters 26 through 35 show the ongoing struggles of a chosen family, the consequences of sin, the trials of faith, and really the overwhelming grace of God. Through deceit, rivalry, hardship, and loss, God remains faithful and continues to shape a people through whom his promises will be fulfilled. Please continue this Bible study in part 3. If you enjoyed learning about the Bible, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment about what story you want to see next.